too long to go. The next session is due out at 11:44 local time. And right on cue, the whistle is blown down on the starting of the dummy grid. Engines are fired, and in just a few short seconds, you'll have karts on track for the third and final qualifying session of the 2020 Daniel Ricciardo Series. Round 3 from Shenington. Here they go, on to their rolling lap. So, a quick rundown of the drivers. Driver number 2 is Matthew Pearce. Driver number 3 is Tyrone Stansfield. Driver number 5 is Morgan Cole. Driver number 6 is Dan Walden. Driver number 8 is Mark Lawrence. Driver 175 is Patrick Lay. 197 is Dave Burns. 279 is Elliot Stanley. 298 is Carl Watt. 304 is Sam Cunliffe. 308 is Corey Elaine. 312 is Tom Snape. And 316 is Jack Rigg. There you go, Sam Cunliffe through your screen with the Senna livery crash helmet. There's Patrick Lay in front of those 3 karts there. And so drivers complete the outlap. Here's the exit of Pitts Bend. And the run down Stratford Straight into Stratford Corner and then up Runway Straight. Into the Bruno chicane. On your screen. So driver number 8 on your screen there, that's Mark Lawrence. He's all the way down from the north of Scotland to do his racing. And he's being chased by Jack Rigg in kart number 316 at the moment. Now, Ty Stansfield was fastest in the last practice session yesterday. And although we have a 2-way tie for the race lead at the moment, that can obviously be added to. And even though we've only got 13 drivers racing this weekend, at least half of those, well, more than 50% of the field are potential overall race winners. As Matthew Pearce, with a 44.813 second lap, goes to the top of the timing screens. Instantly replaced, however, by Tyrone Stansfield at 44.258. Morgan Cole is returning to the series. Was initially 3rd fastest. Sam Cunliffe, his first year as a 125 driver. So of the 13 drivers here, there are 2, Sam Cunliffe and Jack Rigg, who have graduated out of DRS100 into DRS125 this year. There's Rigg chasing Mark Lawrence down the straight. Ty Stansfield in kart number 3 here is your provisional pole sitter, coming into Hanger Corner now, and you can see the kart washes out wide. So it's Wilkins is one of those corners where it's a hard, sharp right-hand turn, but on the exit you're going away from the corner. You're driving towards the outside of the circuit against all sort of logic. But again, there's a sharp late turn in because you want to get the kart straight and on the power as soon as possible through that part of the circuit onto the start-finish straight. And there's Stansfield, who leads 44.257 now for Stansfield. Pearce is second, just 600 a second down. Then it's Elliot Stanley in 3rd place, less than a 10th off the pace. Sam Cunliffe is 4th, Patrick Lay 5th, Tom Snape is 6th, Corey Elaine 7th, and Patrick Lay now goes to the top of the chart. So you're watching the driver that was provisional pole, now provisionally 2nd place. There comes Ty Stansfield on the power, out of Wilkins onto Park Straight, the start-finish straight. Looking at number 279 on your screens now. 279, Elliot Stanley, 5th at the moment. Make that 6 as Sam Cunliffe goes 2nd quickest. All change. Corey Elaine moves into the top 4 in kart 308. There goes Morgan Cole in kart 5, Mark Lawrence in kart 8, still being chased by Jack Rigg. Jack Rigg, speaking to Jack yesterday, he was saying, it's obviously it's a lot harder in kart 1 in DRS 125. Drivers don't make mistakes as much, and if you make a mistake, it takes a lot longer to sort of regain that time than it did when he was a junior. In junior racing, you can, maybe have a half sloppy lap and still, regain time, because the chances are all your rivals are going to have just, a half sloppy lap as well, and not so in DRS125. Morgan Cole now chasing Jack Rigg down Stratford Straight. Sam Cunliffe in there, wheel tracks. Cunliffe will look to the inside. Cunliffe is second fastest, but that's not going to help him. It's not going to help Morgan Cole either. So maybe Morgan Cole can get on the rear bumper of Cunliffe's kart now and really push him through the next lap and use that slipstream and that draft, which you can still use in DRS125. Even though these are the fastest and most powerful karts, the slipstream will still take effect. And it's Patrick Lay, 43.734 for driver number 175. He's increased his advantage over the chasing pack. He is now 0.3 of a second quicker than his nearest rival, number 304 Samuel Cunliffe. Jack Rigg moves up into 8th place. So 0.8 of a second separates everyone. Oh, and Tyrone Stansfield has stopped. So Tyrone Stansfield, who was provisional pole in kart number 3, he has now stopped that kart on the exit of Cafe Corner, right at the entrance, at the exit to the dummy grid. And his qualifying session is over. Matthew Pearce goes second fastest in kart number 2, 43.998 seconds. Sam Cunliffe, who just making the pass there, coming into Wilkins, is third fastest. Elliot Stanley, a great fourth. Tyrone Stansfield, fifth. Corey Elaine was sixth, now seventh, because Morgan Cole moves into the top 6. So Elaine seventh. Daniel Walden is down in 8th. Disappointing for Daniel so far in kart number 6. 9th is Jack Rigg. 10th is Dave Burns. 11th for Tom Snape. Carl Watt is 12th, and Mark Lawrence is 13th fastest. Morgan Cole gets a warning flag for his troubles, as does Samuel Cunliffe. Now, they were battling together, but they were running very close on the circuit, so maybe they had a little bit of contact, which is why they have both been given a warning flag for their troubles. And there on your screen, leading that group, that is driver number 6, Daniel Walden. 8th at the moment, half a second to make up. Patrick Lay just flashed through your screens there in kart number 175. He is leading the way, 43.734 seconds. There's Tom Snape flashing through Pitts Bend out onto Stratford Straight. And Cunliffe leading Lawrence and the number 5 kart of Morgan Cole into the Bruno chicane. It's still Patrick Lay leading. Pearce second. Cunliffe third. Stanley fourth. Stansfield runs 5th overall. Morgan Cole is 6th. Corey Elaine 7th. Dan Walden, on your screens now, is 8th fastest, being chased by number 197, Dave Burns, just signals from the driver to let him go. 2.5 minutes remain. Are we going to see any improvements? The order is Lay, Pearce, Cunliffe, Stanley, Stansfield, Cole, Elaine, Walden, your top 8. Nobody putting in personal best lap times at the moment. Have the tyres cried enough? Well, as I say that, Corey Elaine in kart 308, the second kart on your screens there, he puts in a personal best time to stay 6th, and he got that by using the slipstream created by Daniel Walden, and Walden pulls over to the side of the circuit, not because he's got a problem, because he wants to have nobody sort of running behind him. He wants to be all on his own. So Corey Elaine and Mark Lawrence have put in fast times. Mark Lawrence up to 10th now with a 44.419 second lap. 0.7 of a second slower than our provisional pole sitter Patrick Lay. Lay and Pearce, 1-2 in the championship, 1-2 on the track here. Well, they're 1-1 in the championship because they're tied, but they're 1-2 here. Cunliffe, this is his best showing so far. Really improving round by round is Sam Cunliffe. He was 12th on his 125 debut at Ricciardo. That improved to a 5th place effort at Clay Pigeon. And Daniel Walden, hand in the air, I think he has decided, no, my tyres are shot. They're not going to improve time. So he is pitting and ends his session 1 minute and 20 seconds early. There goes Corey Elaine. 1 or 2 more drivers also peeling into the pits now as we speak. So the track quite empty. There's Elaine through the Bruno chicane. Now, I arrived in the paddock yesterday, and Corey Elaine was walking around with a pink hoodie over his head. And I was like, Corey, why have you got a hoodie on? He goes, I haven't done my hair, and I forgot my comb, and it looks a mess. I was like, ah, okay. So there were no braids for Corey Elaine, and he's just decided to pit. I saw him this morning, and yes, his hair was resplendent as always. But he said, I still haven't found my comb, but we're just, going to go for it. So he is comb or no comb, he pits and has qualified a very respectable 6th place at the moment. There's the view of Cafe Corner, the exit of Park Bend. There, going through your screen, is the number 8 kart of Mark Lawrence, being chased still by Jack Rigg. So Lawrence is 10th, Rigg is 11th. Into Stratford Corner they go. Jack Rigg has basically been following Mark Lawrence for virtually the entire session, trying to get that slip. He's a little bit far back to use the slipstream, but he does have Lawrence in front of him to sort of gauge and use as a target to push towards, and that can help a driver as well. You put yourself in race mode and you're trying to catch the driver in front of you, and that helps you pick up your pace sometimes. Tom Snape, though, will be disappointed with 12th, and 3/4 of a second off the Patrick Lay's provisional pole time as the checker flag comes out, and that signals the end of DRS125 qualifying. So, provisionally, Patrick Lay will start DRS125 from pole position. Matthew Pearce will start alongside him on row 1. Row 2 will be Sam Cunliffe and Elliot Stanley. Row 3 will be Ty Stansfield and Corey Elaine. Row 4 will be Morgan Cole and Dan Walden. Row 5 will be Dave Burns and Mark Lawrence. Row 6, Jack Rigg and Tom Snape. Carl Watt, minus his gilet, will be on row number 7. So next up, the opening heat for DRS125. The grid as follows. Pole position. And sharing on the outside of the front row, the 2 drivers that are locked together at the top of the point standings. Patrick Lay in kart 175 and Matthew Pearce in kart 2. But Lay has top spot on the grid. Sam Cunliffe and Elliot Stanley will share row 2. It's their best performances of the season so far. Tyrone Stansfield, who was very, very quick in practice yesterday, led the first half of qualifying before something happened mechanically with his kart. He starts 5th alongside Corey Elaine. Row 7, returning to the championship from the People's Republic of Thailand, we are Morgan Cole and Dan Walden sharing row number 4. Dave Burns and Mark Lawrence are on row 5. Jack Rigg and Tom Snape are on row 6, rounding out this 13 kart field. Without his gilet on is driver number 298, Carl Watt. Here we go then. Rolling lap, 8 minutes plus 1 lap for DRS125, their heat race. And the drivers on their rolling lap getting themselves up to speed. I would imagine that we'll probably get 2 rolling lap in just to get the tyres up to temperature. After this race, there will be a break in proceedings. This afternoon, we'll be back with the pre-finals and the Grand Prix events themselves. So yes, 2 rolling laps. So 175, Patrick Lay. 2nd in the opening round of the championship at Ricciardo. 6th, but that 6th has got a bit of a asterisk over it because Patrick Lay was in a great scrap, then he spun, and then he came back to 6th position and would have probably, another lap or 2 and he would have been in the top 4. But he is looking to get his 2nd podium of the season in the Grand Prix events anyway, but his first win of the season, Matthew Pearce, has been, he won the opening round at Ricciardo, 4th in at Clay Pigeon. Ty Stansfield has been the picture of consistency, but he's only 5th in the championship. Dan Walden, who started the season with the 9th, finished 2nd at Clay Pigeon in kart number 6, but he starts on the 4th row of the grid here, so it's been a bit of a case of feast or famine for Dan this year. But here we go, Patrick Lay and Matthew Pearce, tied at the championship standings at the moment, tied together on the front row of the grid for the start of this DRS125 heat race, and the lights are out. We're off and racing. It's a good start from Patrick Lay, who cuts across to the outside to stop Matthew Pearce from getting alongside him and trying to get the inside line for Cafe Corner. So Patrick Lay holds on to the race lead through the first corner down towards Stratford Hairpin for the first time. Pearce in 2nd, change for 3rd place there, and I think that may have been Corey Elaine moving up in kart number 308. No, let's have a look at that next time around. The number in 3rd position, but it's the 2 leaders. The top 2 leaders are the drivers who started from the front row of the grid. And it's Patrick Lay leading, Matthew Pearce in 2nd. Now behind him, there has been a couple of spinners you can just see on the left-hand side of your screen who got together at the Bruno chicane. but it's Elliot Stanley who is up into third place. Good start from Elliot Stanley. Sam Cunliffe is fourth. Tyrone Stansfield is fifth. Morgan Cole sixth. Corey Lane seventh. Dan Walden is eighth. And it was Carl Watt and Mark Lawrence who got together on the opening lap. They both carried on some distance behind the rest of the pack. But it is Lay and Pierce, 1-2, being chased by Elliot Stanley through the Bruno chicane. Now what can you can see head down, Patrick Lay through Hanger into Wilkins. Matthew Pierce right behind him in kart number 2. Dan Walden getting a penalty. Now that could be for start line formation. Breaking start line formation early, so Dan Walden does get a penalty. Now Tyrone Stansfield, they're gesticulating at Sam Cunliffe, saying probably, what are you doing defending, lad? Don't defend, I'll work with you. But Sam Cunliffe is used to racing in DRS100, thinking, well, no. You know, you can see Stansfield there dropping away from the top 3. So Elliot Stanley in the number 279 kart, closing in on the 2 leaders. Great drive so far from Elliot. Stanley's finished 7th and 8th in the 2 finals so far. He's only 11th in the point standings, but if he carries on doing this, that will become a top 10 points paying position in the championship at the end of today easily. And he's actually closing in on Matthew Pierce. So Patrick Lay pulling away from Matthew Pierce at the moment. And Dan Walden up on the curbs there, coming through Park Bend. You can see kart up on 2 wheels briefly, but he is able to carry on. He is now trying to chase down Corey Elaine. Elaine is trying to pass the number 5 kart of Morgan Cole, who in turn is trying to pass the number 3 kart of Tyrone Stansfield, who is trying to pass the number 304 kart of Sam Cunliffe. Now, of course, Cunliffe, you can see there, very distinctive Ayrton Senna style crash helmet, the yellow, green and black livery. This is his first season out of DRS 100, so he's a first-year senior driver, and he's in his best position so far, is Cunliffe. He had a 5th place finish in the final at Clay Pigeon, but he's only 8th in the championship. He finds himself running 4th here and is trying to hold on to it, but he's being passed around the outside. Who is that going around the outside? That is Morgan Cole. Wow, Morgan makes up 2 places in one go there around the outside of both Cunliffe and Stansfield. So Tyrone Stansfield's lost a place there to Dan Walden. He's lost 2 places, in fact, one to Walden and one to Morgan Cole. Now Morgan Cole into the top 4. Will he try and chase after the 3 leaders? Cunliffe is right in his wheel tracks, however. The gaps at the front. Patrick Lay, 0.6 of a second in front of Matthew Pierce, who is half a second in front of Elliot Stanley. Stanley is 1.8 seconds in front of this battle on your screen now. Number 5, Morgan Cole. Number 304, Sam Cunliffe. And number 6, Dan Walden. Corey Elaine is 8th. Tom Snape is 9th. Then it's Dave Burns rounding out the top 10. And Jack Rigg, Mark Lawrence and Carl Watt still recovering from their earlier incident. But certainly, here comes Cole under pressure. There goes Cunliffe, and Walden follows Cunliffe through. Cole does the crossover move. Cole gets on the power nice and early. So he's going to lose 1 place, but is he not going to lose 2? Yes, he's... Oh, brave stuff there from Dan Walden to hang it on the outside, going into the Bruno chicane. And he manages to get the kart safely to the apex, the middle point of the corner, without losing that place to Morgan Cole. But Sam Cunliffe now finds himself back in 4th place this battle, while the 3 leaders are gone. The 3 leaders are away at the front. Lay increasing his lead 10th by 10th by 10th over Matthew Pierce, and then Elliot Stanley doing a great job in 3rd place. Only 1.4 seconds off the race leader, however, but 3 seconds in front of everybody else. So Stanley is safe. Oh, and under braking there. Sam Cunliffe was late on the brakes there. I think Dan Walden might have just given him a little bit of a helping hand in the braking there, judging by the trajectory of the kart heading towards the apex of that corner, and Cunliffe has lost 2 places. It is now Dan Walden into 4th place. He is tasked with chasing Elliot Stanley for 3rd. Morgan Cole is 5th. Cunliffe is 6th. 7th is in the white race suit and the green crash helmet. That's Tom Snape, who qualified terribly badly down in 12th position, but is come alive in the races. He is now trying to pass Cunliffe. Cunliffe to the outside, Snape to the inside. Tyrone Stanley also trying to go through as well. Stansfield, sorry. It's Tyrone Stansfield, to apologise. Stansfield down in 8th place. And it all started because he couldn't quite get past Sam Cunliffe at the front at the start of this event. And he's still behind Cunliffe, and he's still having a little look to try and get past the 304 kart. He's probably going to be very frustrated. But again, Sam Cunliffe, it's his position. He has the right to defend that position. As long as he's not being dangerous, and he's not, he's just being defensive, and that's what he's supposed to do. Don't just roll over and give these drivers a position. Tickling the belly as they drive past. No, you hold on to it, and that is what Cunliffe is doing, even though it's costing him time. And Stansfield, well, Stansfield literally almost sat in the seat with Sam Cunliffe, he's so close to him. Up, down, up through Pitts Bend, down Stratford Straight, into Stratford Hairpin. And behind Dan Walden, Tom Snape passes Morgan Cole for 5th position. So Snape from 12th to 5th now. Great recovery, and Stansfield has got Corey Elaine right behind him. Ty Stansfield still chasing Sam Cunliffe. There's Dan Walden in kart number 6, 4th position. He's got a little bit of breathing space over Tom Snape, although Tom Snape has been one of the fastest on the circuit. Just a quick check of the lap times. We've got 90 seconds to go. Patrick Lay, you're not missing anything at the front because Patrick Lay still leads Matthew Pearce now by 1.5 seconds. Elliot Stanley, another 1.5 seconds back in 3rd place. Tom Snape's best lap is a 44.0, as I suspected. Apart from Patrick Lay, fastest driver in this race so far has been Tom Snape. And Elliot Stanley closing in on Matthew Pearce. Well, I don't think this battle for 2nd place is done yet. Elliot Stanley has got the bit between his teeth. There are your leaders coming through Hanger Bend. Lay, Pearce, Stanley. Number 279, Elliot Stanley chasing Matthew Pearce. This is the highest that Elliot Stanley has been at any point in a DRS125 race this season. 30 seconds to go. He's in 3rd place. He's got 2nd place within striking distance. What does he do? Matthew Pearce, very, very experienced driver, is not just going to roll over and let him take the position. Stanley's going to have to work very hard for it without overcooking it and spoiling his best drive of the season so far. Walden runs 4th. Snape is 5th. Cole 6th. Stansfield 7th. Cunliffe now 8th. So Tyrone Stansfield finally has got past Sam Cunliffe, but they're now 3 seconds behind Morgan Cole. And Stansfield is not going to improve on 7th place at the moment. Cunliffe is 8th, Burns 9th, Rigg 10th, Elaine has slipped back to 11th, then it is Lawrence and Watt. But as we start the final lap, Elliot Stanley is running out of time to try and make a move on Matthew Pearce, and Pearce, in fact, does a good lap and increases his advantage over the number 279 kart to 0.4 of a second, while Patrick Lay is going to move into the outright championship lead with this result. But it's still early days yet. We've got 2 more races to go in each class. Here's the battle. Sam Cunliffe has got back past Tyrone Stansfield. Oh, well, I mean, for Tyrone Stansfield, Sam Cunliffe has been very much the fly in the ointment. Good battling for both drivers there. They're going to finish 7th and 8th, but I'm not quite sure in what order, as Patrick Lay comes across the line to take the win. Matthew Pearce 2nd. Elliot Stanley, best ever result, in 3rd place. That is Dan Walden 4th. Tom Snape in 5th. Morgan Cole is 6th. And Cunliffe does beat Stansfield to the line for 7th place. Dave Burns comes home in 9th. Corey Elaine rounds out the top 10. And Jack Regan there finally crossed the line after their opening lap incident. Mark Lawrence and Carl Watt. But good to see all 13 DRS125 drivers safely across the line at the end of the race. But a win for Patrick Lay. Pre-final time then for DRS 125. 13 drivers set to start this one. Patrick Lay started the day in a joint championship lead with Matthew Pearce, but he won the heat race, took the overall championship lead, and started this one from pole position. But Pearce, his main rival in the title fight, starts alongside him on the outside of the front row. A best drive so far from Elliot Stanley this season. Snared him 3rd place in the running order at the end of the heat race. He starts 3rd here. Tom Snape, a great drive from 12th to 4th. He will start from the outside of row 2 with Morgan Cole and Dan Walden, karts 5 and 6, starting in positions 5 and 6. Sam Cunliffe and Tyrone Stansfield share row number 4 with Dave Burns and Corey Elaine up next. Jack Rigg and Mark Lawrence are on row number 6, and all on his own on row number 7 is driver number 298, Carl Watt. There's Carl, who the only driver to ever be black flagged only driver to ever receive the mechanical flag in a practice session for wearing a hooded gilet on over his race suit. So they are setting themselves down on the dummy grid. Still the skies remain dry. Cloud cover comes and goes. There's still a brisk wind, but no threat of rain here. I have to say that it looks like we could get away with a completely dry race today. But it's the pole sitter will be driver number 175, Patrick Lay, who finished second in the opening race of the year at Ricciardo and 6th in the final at round 2 at Clay Pigeon, and has a very, very narrow championship lead over the driver that starts alongside him. But there is your pole sitter, championship leader, number 175, Patrick Lay, starting alongside him, the driver that is close to him in the point standings, and the winner of the opening round of the season at Ricciardo, Matthew Pearce. On row number 2, you've got number 279, Elliot Stanley's having his best performance of the season so far, and Tom Snape, who took a few years out of the championship, came back this year and has come back very strong indeed. Morgan Cole, good to see Morgan back in the driving seat, starting 5th in Kart 5. And Dan Walden, who finished runner-up last time out at Clay Pigeon, he starts 6th in Kart number 6. So, Sam Cunliffe in Kart number 304. A bit defensive in the first race, and incurred the frustration of several drivers, including that driver there, Tyrone Stansfield. But it's a new race, and we're all going to go. There's Dave Burns. Good to see Dave fighting fit after a bit of an injury at Clay Pigeon. There's Corey Elaine, the driver from Donegal, in Kart number 308. Jack Rigg, who alongside Sam Cunliffe have graduated out of DRS100 to DRS125 this year. He starts alongside the class veteran from the north of Scotland, Mark Lawrence. And then at the back of the pack, there's Carl Watt. Carl Watt, good to go. So Watt and Lawrence, they collided on the opening lap of the heat race, but all is forgiven. Here we go then for the DRS125 pre-final. Coming up very shortly. Rolling lap, and then 8 minutes plus 1 lap race distance. Will we get 1 or 2? I think we'll probably have 2 rolling laps, just to get everyone a chance to get their tyres up to a safe operating temperature. The finals were 10 minutes plus a lap, but this is the pre-final. Well, once again, it will be a case of can Matthew Pearce sort of peg Patrick Lay back at the start. Lay got that great start in the heat race and was just able to just ease away. It wasn't Thomas Harvey levels of domination, but it was, you know, a 1/10 of a second each lap. And Matthew Pearce eventually having to defend his second place from Elliot Stanley. Stanley, his best finish of the season so far, a 7th place in the final at Ricciardo. Looking good to improve on that here, but we've got this race to get through before we get to the Grand Prix itself. Now, good formation. 13 drivers, 8 minutes plus 1 lap. They come through Hanger Bend into Wilkins. Number 2, Matthew Pearce, has got to anticipate the start perfectly and stop the poleman, number 175, Patrick Lay, from getting too much of a break at the start. Light to green's a good start from Lay, who again takes the middle of the circuit and prevents Matthew Pearce from even thinking about getting alongside. And Pearce has got Elliot Stanley. Oh, Stanley runs a little bit wide to the middle of Cafe Corner there as he tries to stay on the outside, and he's now bouncing over the curbs coming out of that corner, and that's going to cost him a whole heap of positions. And up in the 3rd place has come Tom Snape. Now, apart from the race leader, Patrick Lay, the fastest driver in the heat race in this class was number 312, Tom Snape. He's 3rd. Good start from Weldon in 4th, and it looks like Cunliffe has got Morgan Cole right behind him. The top 5 are already breaking clear. It's Lay, from Pearce, from Snape, from Walden, and Tyrone Stansfield in 5th position. So Elliot Stanley falls right to the rear of the top 10. Let's have a look as they cross the line. It is Lay, Pearce, Snape, Walden, Stansfield. Cole is 6th. 7th is Cunliffe. 8th is Elliot Stanley. around Stratford Corner for the second time. Matthew Pearce, head down, trying to stay in Patrick Lay's slipstream. Good battling at the back of the pack. Now Morgan Cole in 6th position. He leads the second group of karts. He is 1.5 seconds behind Tyrone Stansfield. As Dan Walden gets a warning for contact. That was just probably a little bit door handling with Elliot Stanley at Cafe Corner on the first lap, but Stanley trying to go around the outside of Matthew Pearce. And, you know, just a little bit of inexperience cost him there, I have to say, Elliot Stanley, but he is down in 8th place. But he's got a very quick kart. Can he get past Sam Cunliffe? But the top 5 are clear. Then it's Morgan Cole a long way back in 6th position. And behind Morgan Cole is Sam Cunliffe and Elliot Stanley battling. There goes Cole with Cunliffe holding off Stanley. Watt is up to 9th, Burns is 10th, Rigg 11th, 12th for Lawrence, 13th for Corey Lane. So it's 2 groups have developed on the circuit. A lead group of 5 and then a chasing group of 8. Morgan Cole in 6th place leading that second group. He is going to work really hard. He's got just under 6 minutes to try and bridge that gap with 2.3 seconds to the top 5. So I think Morgan Cole probably is just racing now for 6th position to hold on to 6th position. And you can see that despite Snape getting 3rd place at the start, he's not got the pace at the moment to stay with the 2 leaders. Lay doing exactly what he did in the opening race, and that is easing away, 10th at a time. Hasn't made a mistake. Pearce pushing on, change behind. Dan Walden was having a little look at the inside of Tom Snape going into Wilkins, and he made the position. Snape trying to come back at him as they cross the start-finish line, but it is Dan Walden who holds on to 3rd position. Snape 4th. Stansfield in kart number 3 is in 5th position. Now, what can Tyrone Stansfield do? He looks to the inside of Tom Snape, but Stansfield into 4th position. Good move there from Tyrone Stansfield. And now he signals to Tom Snape, come on, push forward, finger on the button, let's go, let's work together and catch Walden, and then maybe push up to the race leaders. We've still got over half race this distance to do it. But Patrick Lay and Matthew Pearce easing away ever so slightly. The gap less than half a second, so Matthew Pearce is keeping the gap at the moment on lap number 5 between himself and the race leader Patrick Lay to less than half a second. They crossed the line to complete lap number 5, and I have to say that gap looks a little bit bigger than half a second now. Oh, a penalty for number 298 Carl Watt. That may have been for breaking start formation early on, and yes, Matthew Pearce has now fallen to 6/10 of a second behind Patrick Lay. This is a mirror image of what happened in the first race. Patrick Lay has just got the edge, the narrowest of edges over everybody else. And Matthew Pearce, try as he might, simply cannot do anything about it. Now Dave Burns has been off and he is down to 13th place. He's back on, but he has had some sort of agricultural moment somewhere out of sight. There's your 3rd, 4th and 5th place cards on screen. Walden in the 6th, Stansfield in the 3, and Snape in the 312 kart. Into Cafe Corner we go. Out of Pitts Bend, onto the Stratford Straight. Lay, Pearce, Walden, Stansfield and Snape. Then a big gap back to Morgan Cole in 6th. There goes Cole with Cunliffe in 7th. 8th is Stanley, 9th is Rigg, then it's Watt, Elaine, Lawrence, and then Dave Burns a little bit off the back of the pack after his off-track excursion. I'm wondering if it has something to do with the penalty that was dished out to Carl Watt. Who knows? Cameras didn't catch the action, so can't speculate, but one may be forgiven for putting 2 and 2 together. There is Carl Watt, defending now from number 308 Corey Lane, with the number 8 kart of Mark Lawrence right behind him. So this is 10th, 11th and 12th in the race. Elaine, the driver from Donegal, comes out of Pitts Bend. He looks to the inside for the run into Stratford Corner. Passes Carl Watt and moves himself up into 10th position as they chase Jack Rigg in kart number 316, who runs in 9th place. 2.5 minutes to go through the Bruno chicane on lap number 8. This group, Mark Lawrence now trying to pass Carl Watt as well. As they go down the Hanger Straight into Hanger Bend, as they go into Wilkins, coming out of Wilkins to start another lap are the drivers 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, And now we pick up that battle that we've just followed down the hangar straight. There it is. It's still a lane leading, and Mark Lawrence wasn't able to get past Carl Watt for 11th position on that occasion. And Carl Watt beginning to drop away a little bit from Corey Elaine. There go your lead group into the Bruno chicane. There's Morgan Cole, followed by Sam Cunliffe, and then all on his own, ploughing a lonely furrow in 8th place is number 279, Elliot Stanley. Back to the leaders, into Wilkins. It's number 175, Carter Lay, who leads Matthew Pearce now by over 1 second as they complete lap number 9 with 90 seconds left on the race clock. And Lay gained another 2/10 on Pearce on that lap. The best battle is now for 3rd place between Dan Walden and Tyrone Stansfield. Stansfield in kart number 3, really beginning to put the pressure on Dan Walden as they try and hunt down Matthew Pearce. Now, what does Stansfield do when he catches Dan Walden? Does he try and work with him? We're into the final minute, though. Time is running out, and Patrick Lay looking serene at the front of the field, untroubled, not looking over his shoulder. He knows he's got an advantage. He can just focus on hitting his marks every single corner. As he comes out of Wilkins, out of his peripheral vision, he'll be able to see some of his nearest rivals coming into Wilkins, so he knows that drivers are beginning to fall away from him. He has paced this race perfectly and is preparing himself for pole position in the Grand Prix. That's plenty of P's I fitted into that sentence. Thank you. Tyrone Stansfield has got one P in mind, and that is P3 as he chases down Dan Walden. Snape is not a factor behind him in 5th position. There is Stansfield out of the Bruno chicane. Can he get past Dan Walden? The clock is going to strike 0. So the next time by, Patrick Lay is going to see the last lap board. Matthew Pearce in 2nd place can't be comfortable because Walden and Stansfield are right there, about 5 kart lengths off his rear bumper. Through turn number 1 for the final time here in the DRS125 pre-Grand Prix. Tyrone Stansfield is putting the pressure on Dan Walden. Out of Pitts Bend, onto the Stratford straight we go. Stansfield not close enough to make a move into Stratford Bend there. Out onto runway straight we go. Can he do it into the Bruno chicane? The answer is no. And Matthew Pearce is going to have to defend from Dan Walden if he's not very careful. Dan Walden's having an absolutely storming last lap, and he's bringing Stansfield with him. Can Pearce hold on? Patrick Lay, meanwhile, on lap 12, is going to take the victory, but who's going to be second? Walden gets a good run on Pearce to the line, but it's going to be Lay. Pearce in 2nd place, Walden in 3rd, Stansfield 4th, Snape 5th, and it's going to be Cole or Cunliffe. It's Cole in 6th, Cunliffe in 7th, Stanley 8th, Rigg, Elaine. Elaine gets Rigg on the final corner. Corey Elaine finishes 9th. Carl Watt comes home in 10th, Jack Rigg 11th, Mark Lawrence 12th, and Dave Burns in 13th. It should have been the final race of the day, but it is now the penultimate race of the day. It is going to be for, it's the DRS125 Grand Prix. Now, if the race for the win wasn't a good one in DRS100, the race for the minor placings was excellent. Are we going to see the same thing? Well, we've had a perfect set of results in DRS100 for Thomas Harvey. Are we going to get a perfect set of results for Patrick Lay in DRS125? Are we going to get a dry race? Because you can see there the camera at the exit of, at the outside of Stratford Corner. Skies they are a-darkening. And the meeting, which was previously declared dry, has now been declared open. And which that means that the drivers have a choice of whether to go out on slick tyres or wet tyres. At the moment, everyone is obviously on slicks. The only question is, how long will it stay an open meeting? Well, how long will it stay a dry track? And the blue skies have been replaced. But here is your pole man, number 175, Patrick Lay. Pole position, heat win, and the pre-final victory for Patrick, leading the championship, but not by much, over this man, number 2, Matthew Pearce. Matthew Pearce there, just starting on the outside. Oh, a couple of little nervous glances upwards. 3rd on the grid, Elliot Stanley in kart number 279. And 4th on the grid will be Sam Cunliffe in kart 304. Dan Walden will start 5th in kart number 6. He's getting himself psyched up there. And starting 6th in kart number 3 is Tyrone Stansfield. There's Tyrone. I was going to say there's Tyrone's back end. No, we don't see that one. Morgan Cole is there in kart number 5. He starts on the inside of row 4 alongside Tom Snape in kart 312. Corey Elaine, the darling of Donegal, starts on the inside of row 5 alongside number 197, Dave Burns. Jack Rigg in kart 316 will start on the inside of row 6 alongside number 8, championship veteran Mark Lawrence, starting grid 12. Carl Watt will start from grid 13 on a dry track, 10 minutes plus 1 lap. The signal is given. Engines are fired. Karts leave the grid, head out onto the circuit. Will they beat the rain home? Let's see. Everybody safely around Stratford Corner. Should get 2 rolling laps here as the drivers sort themselves out into their correct positions and they line up properly in their rolling lap formation. It'll be 10 minutes plus a lap of racing action. DRS125, this is the Grand Prix. So Patrick Lay came into today in a tie for the points lead with Matthew Pearce, but he has gained ground on his nearest rival so far today and is trying to maintain, or trying to expand his championship lead. And it's very, very dark. So the weather is coming. You can see, well, that's better than I thought it was. There's a couple of dark clouds there just beyond the Stratford hairpin. But, and the more dark clouds, you know, to the right of where you're looking at the camera there, over the banking. So if above us, directly above us, there is an uneasy mixture of white clouds and grey clouds. So let's try it again. This is going to be another rolling lap. It's almost as if the drivers want to have a mixed race with a bit of moisture thrown in for good measure. I'm sure they don't, but the quicker they get themselves into formation, the quicker that we can go racing. So, Pearce in kart 2 on the outside of the grid. Lay will have the inside line to turn number 1 in kart number 175. In the pre-final, Patrick Lay was able to not only cover the inside line, he came across the outside of the circuit to take the best racing line into turn number 1, and that sort of held up Pearce's momentum ever so slightly. Let's see if that tactic works again. What about Sam Cunliffe? He's been great at the starts, but then in race pace, he's been a bit defensive. Hasn't always endeared him to some of the other drivers, but he's doing the best he can. He is fighting for every place just as much as everybody else. Here we go again. Lights are out. Now we're off and racing. Lay does cover the middle of the track again. So he takes the lead through turn number 1 into Cafe Corner. Pearce second. Cunliffe battling past Elliot Stanley for third. Stanley doesn't make the same mistake that he did in the pre-final. He doesn't try and run round all the way around the outside. So he is fourth. Here comes Tyrone Stansfield, though, up the inside of Stanley. So Stansfield into fourth. Stanley down to fifth. And it's Walden in sixth. But it's Patrick Lay and Matthew Pearce who have the top 2 positions going into the Bruno chicane on lap number 1. Everybody through the first half a lap cleanly. Carl Watt in kart number 298. He has made up several places already up into P11. But it's Lay, Pearce, Cunliffe and Stansfield, your top 3. They complete lap number 1. 12 minutes plus a lap this race. On lap number 2, Lay checks over his shoulder just to see where everyone is. He knows he doesn't have to be defensive now into Stratford Corner. Pearce right behind him, and it's Cunliffe hanging on well at the moment. Stansfield, now Stansfield and Cunliffe, they had a an animated battle in the heat race, I think would be the best way to describe it. Will they work together now in the final? Well, at the moment, Stansfield hasn't got a choice. He's got to try and work with Cunliffe and push him up to the front. As Cunliffe takes a tight line into Wilkins there, that's going to affect his run out of the corner. And Stansfield dives to the inside, change for third place. Tyrone Stansfield has the position. Will Cunliffe hang up tough on the outside? At the moment, the answer is yes, he will. Lay and Pierce trying to pull away, little by little. And Stansfield up into third place. I think he is here. Come on now, think. As Cunliffe drops back to fifth. So Stansfield in P3. Walden is up to fourth place. Cunliffe back to fifth. As Matthew Pierce having a little nose up the inside of Patrick Lay there. Maybe Patrick Lay was a little bit offline there, but Pierce is applying the pressure. This is as close as Matthew Pierce has been all weekend to the race leader. As they head out of Pitts Bend down towards Stratford Corner. Lay getting a little bit sideways now. Is that because no, there's no moisture down the circuit yet? It's not raining yet, but certainly Patrick Lay under a little bit more pressure than he was before. There is the sign of the black clouds to the left of your picture there. But you can see the marshal in his box there. He's not got the slippery surface flag out, so that is a dry track. And Sam Cunliffe getting a little bit of a warning there for contact, possibly in his battle with Ty Stansfield. But here is Lay to complete another lap. Pierce hot on his heels. Then Stansfield third, Walden fourth, Stanley fifth, Cunliffe back to sixth. Morgan Cole is there in seventh position. 8th is Corey Elaine. 9th is Tom Snape. So Snape has had a disappointing, after a bad qualifying session and a great heat race. So tapered off a little bit in the pre-final. He's gone backwards, sadly, in the Grand Prix itself. Burns runs in 10th. Watt 11th. Rigg 12th. Lawrence 13th. There's Rigg and Lawrence going through your picture. So all 13 drivers still, pretty closely bunched together. Nobody has had any off-track excursions yet. And Patrick Lay has weathered that storm quite well and has extended his lead. Now Elliot Stanley and Sam Cunliffe wheel to wheel for 5th position. Stanley's got it, Cunliffe wants it, Cunliffe's got it. So Cunliffe back into 5th position in kart 304, Stanley down to 6th, Cole still runs in 7th. Morgan Cole in kart number 5 is, Morgan Cole in kart number 5 is looking menacing behind those two, and Cunliffe and Stanley running a little bit wide there. So Cunliffe went up the inside of Stanley, going into Stratford Corner, and Cole is there side by side. Cole just about hangs on. He's going to have a poor run on the straight. Now is Elliot Stanley going to get them both? Oh, contact there between Cunliffe and Morgan Cole. They went 3 wide. They both continue. A full 360 for Samuel Cunliffe, and he regains, but he's down in what I believe is going to be 12th place. Oh, and Morgan Cole's got a problem. Morgan Cole slowing down into Wilkins. I think that could be game over for Morgan, sadly, as Corey Elaine capitalises in kart number 308. So Corey Elaine up into 6th position now. Here's the battle for 3rd place between Tyrone Stansfield and Dan Walden. They're still chasing. Stansfield gives him the thumbs up, saying, right, come on, we can still push and work together. And behind them, they've got a huge gap back to Elliot Stanley in 5th, Corey Elaine in 6th, Tom Snape is up to 7th. 8th is now Dave Burns, 9th is Carl Watt. Sam Cunliffe is down to 10th. Then Jack Rigg on your screens now is 11th with Mark Lawrence right behind him. Sadly, I think Morgan Cole has had to retire from the race. So we're down to 12 runners. Lay still leads. Personal best lap, 43.937 for Patrick Lay. He is 0.6 of a second in front of Matthew Pierce. 6.5 minutes and change to go. Still, Stansfield and Walden working together. How much longer can they work together before they have to start battling into the Bruno chicane? On lap number 8, Patrick Lay's lead after that initial threat from Matthew Pierce is beginning to open up like it has done in every race so far. Matthew Pierce, at the start of the races, he has been right with Patrick Lay, but as the races have worn on, it's those drivers behind him that have sort of closed in a little bit, and he's been putting a little bit of pressure in the closing stages. That is what Stansfield and Walden are hoping to do on this occasion. And you can see Walden is not challenging Stansfield. As I say that, he's running right behind Ty Stansfield, but he's not challenging and forcing Ty to defend. And Tyrone knows that, so that's why they're not falling away from Matthew Pearce. That's why they're actually closing in a little bit. The gap is down just half a second between Pearce in second, Stansfield and Walden in third and fourth. The gap behind him to Elliot Stanley is 4.5 seconds, and there goes Walden to the inside, but he does it in a place where it doesn't cost either of them any time, and he gives them the signal. So Stansfield is going to now push Walden along as best he can, and they don't lose really any time to Matthew Pearce. That is, if you're going to make a move and work and overtake each other without losing time to the people in front of you, that is how you do it here. And now, well, Stansfield is going to say, well, let's have a look, see if it didn't work when I was leading and you were pushing me. Now maybe you can lead and I'll push you and see if that works. With the Bruno chicane, 5 minutes to go. Still no rain, but still the clouds overhead loom ominously into Wilkins once again. And that gap to Matthew Pearce is coming down in the braking. It really sort of truncates under braking. New fast lap for the race leader, 43.889 seconds for Patrick Lay. Looking more and more comfortable in the race lead as this Grand Prix progresses. At the top four, well, the best battle is for third place between Walden and Stansfield. Behind them, here comes the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. It is Elaine in 5th, Stanley in 6th. 7th for Snape, then it's Burns, Watts, Cunliffe, Rigg, and Mark Lawrence has had to retire as well in kart number 8. So here is the battle on screen between 5th, 6th and 7th. It is number 308, Corey Elaine, leading Elliot Stanley and Tom Snape. Now Corey Elaine's best finish so far was 6th at Ricciardo. He is on course for a career best effort of 5th here at Shenington, but he's still got 3 3/4 minutes plus a lap to go. Elliot Stanley chasing hard. Elliot Stanley's got a 7th and an 8th in the 2 finals so far, and he's currently running 6th. So again, another driver potentially on course for a best ever result. Elaine having to defend. He was a little bit sloppy coming out of Stratford Corner then, and Stanley is attacking into Hanger Bend. Elaine defending into Wilkins once again. Stanley is right there, and again Snape also now in a position to potentially, if Stanley moves offline to make an attempt to pass Corey Elaine, Tom Snape can capitalise and maybe pick up a place for Elliot Stanley. That's what Stanley's got to worry about. Do I attack or defend? Because I can do both at this particular moment in time. Obviously everyone's initial instinct is to attack. Walden and Stansfield still chase Matthew Pearce, but the gap between second and third has grown to 7/10 of a second. Patrick Lay in kart number 175 leads by just over a second from number 2 Matthew Pearce. Here is Elaine, and Elaine's got a little bit of breathing space, so maybe Stanley is electing to defend now. 2 3/4 minutes to go. This could give Elaine the break he needs to sew up 5th position. Tom Snape looking particularly aggressive, swings out wide onto the start-finish straight. Now will he tuck up the inside going into Cafe Corner? No, Stanley doesn't give him the opportunity, but Tom Snape looks good coming out of Cafe Corner. Through Pitts Bend, onto Stratford Straight. Will Tom Snape make a move under braking for Stratford Corner? It looks like he is going to. Yes, he does. So Snape moves up into 6th position. Stanley back to 7th. Here is the scrap for 3rd place. Tyrone Stanley and Dan Walden wheel to wheel. A bit of contact there. Stanley holds on, so Stansfield holds on. And he has reclaimed 3rd place on this lap. Walden trying to come back at him, but doesn't. Now, what can Tyrone Stansfield do? He has got 1.6 seconds to make up on Matthew Pearce and only 90 seconds plus a lap of this race remaining. I don't think he can do that. Patrick Lay's lead now stands at 1.1 seconds. So he is not slowing down, Patrick Lay. Pearce, although Pearce is stretching away from this battle for 3rd place coming into the Bruno chicane now, between the number 3 of Stansfield and the number 6 of Walden, Pearce is not backing up into this group. The top 2 positions look to be quite secure now, but who is going to fill out the podium? It's going to be at the moment number 6 Dan Walden, who repasses Tyrone Stansfield with a minute to go as they cross the line. Stansfield comes back in though, into Park Bend. Oh, wheel to wheel. Oh, contact, they both go round. Walden holds it. Stansfield picks up third place. Walden, I thought he was going to do a full 360, but he managed to hold that spin. Now he's dropped time, but he hasn't dropped the place. He still runs fourth, behind Stansfield, who now runs in third place. Elaine is fifth. Sixth is Snape. Seventh is Stanley. Eighth is Dave Burns, with Cunliffe in ninth. Right behind him, then 10th for Watt, 11th for Jack Rigg. 30 seconds to go. And it was Walden just trying to go around the outside of Park Bend, going into Cafe Corner there, and he just got hooked around the front of Stansfield's cart, and sort of would have gone round, but he used the nose of Stansfield's cart to get himself straightened up, but it did cost him a little bit of time, but didn't actually cost him a position. But here is your race leader, Patrick Lay, on lap number 17. Again, inch perfect so far from Patrick Lay. He hasn't won a final this year, a second and a sixth, but we are now just moments away from him beginning his 18th lap. Here he comes, on to the start-finish straight. Last lap board out. Patrick Lay has waited an awful long time to seal a victory here in the Daniel Ricciardo series, and he is less than a lap away now, out of Pitts Bend into Stratford. The back end of the cart steps out ever so slightly, but he catches it beautifully at runway straight into the Bruno chicane. Matthew Pearce is not going to catch him. Stansfield is there in third position. Fourth is Walden, under pressure from Corey Elaine, but it's going to be number 175, a new winner this season in DRS125. Patrick Lay comes out at the final corner and takes the checkered flag and the victory. Pearce second. Third is going to be Tyrone Stansfield, then Dan Walden and Corey Elaine wheel to wheel for fourth. Walden takes it, best result ever for Elaine in fifth. Snape is sixth, Elliott Stanley is seventh. Cunliffe comes home in eighth, Burns ninth, Watt 10th, and Jack Rigg finishes in 11th position.